Welcome to Momentum Monday. Howard, how is the weather in Toronto?
Fall's in the air, buddy. Not San Diego. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
All right. You can see I'm at my staying with my niece, my oldest niece. She's having twins. You can see the cribs in the background as they nest and get ready for their baby. Let's.
Is one of them going to be named Howard?
No, definitely not. And nor will that one be named Ivan. So no one wins.
I can live with that, no problem.
Okay, let's get to the markets. I get through some of this momentum, see what's working and what isn't.
Absolutely, let's do this.
Where do you want to start?
Okay, let's start with the S&P 500. We can see the major U.S. stock indices continue to consolidate in a range within a few percentage points of all-time highs. Last week we saw an attempt for a breakout, which could not be sustained in the SPY, understandably so. And we're seeing a similar action in the Nasdaq 100, which is a little weaker, but it keeps finding support around its 50-day moving average. And I think as long as it holds above 180, there is no reason to get overly concerned with the most recent pullback. And in terms of small caps, which are the weakest among the top three indices, I think 168 is an important level to hold.
Yeah, I mean, this year's proven to be, even though it's been an okay year for the averages, kind of right on 9%, 8 to 15%, depending on the Nasdaq and the Dow. It's just it's a market of stocks. So I think even if we had a 10% pullback in the indexes, I don't think you'd scare people at this point, because so many stocks have just returned incredible numbers.
I think.
So let's get right to some individual names. Is there anything fresh that you see that's like working? And the Dow broke out last week, so what's working?
The sector that stands out right now the most to me on the long side is biotech.
Yeah. Amgen is one we talked about, Ivan, and the one that I've got long, and that's kind of held.
Yeah, it keeps making new highs, and it's not the only one. There are quite a few biotech stocks that are doing.
This is for baby biotech, like if you want to be bored, like an old man biotech. Illumina would be on the cutting edge, which you're showing right now, and Amgen is on the like.
Yes. So today we saw quite a few range expansion in the sector, and there've been some crazy moves in the small float biotechs, like we're talking 100-200% moves in a day. So I'm not sure if this is the beginning of a next leg higher or just a sign of.
If we look at the big caps, this is the beginning. I think the froth is definitely in the small caps, and you got to be really careful when stocks are moving 100-200% on test results. But you're flipping through some names here that look amazing. This is rare.
Yeah, it looks very constructively on several time frames. Let's take a look at weekly.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Oh, well, that one on a monthly is not the same, but it's hitting 3-year highs.
Yeah. On a monthly, it's not as sexy, I guess, but daily and weekly, definitely it looks.
But I mean, there's no doubt about that. ILMN, which is kind of like, and Amgen are leading on the big cap, and now some names are catching fire. Whereas a good example of how rough biotech can be is we look at the genetic CRISP, like the CRISP industry, and CRSP is the poster child for this, and it's breaking down while biotechs break out. So again, like it's not just you can blindly buy biotechs, but at the same time, overall, if Ivan pulls up the chart again of the index, it's pretty strong. So the genetic stocks have gone into their own little bear market, but the biotech index is just healthy. That's a good sign. It's not just random. You can't just buy anything.
Yeah, I mean, bull markets often correct through sector rotation, so it's good to see at least one sector leading. And also energy has been strong as of late. I'm not sure why. I mean, I read something about OPEC not increasing their output, but with all that U.S.-China tariff negotiation, I don't really think that a sustained upside move in oil is possible. But I mean, let's not use the word possible, because anything's possible in the markets.
Yeah, I mean, I don't focus on commodities. If we look at Norway, I mentioned yesterday, I don't know the ticker, but the Norway's breaking out.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the ticker either.
Yeah, but I'm just saying Norway is a commodity country, and
sure, it's moving with along with crude oil, just because so much of their economy just depends on crude oil.
Yeah, so that's the oil ETF breaking out a little bit too.
Yeah, so there are quite a few oil stocks that are starting to break out, and if you don't care about the reason, if you're just following pure price action, I guess you don't care about the symbols.
Yep. Okay, so resources. I mean, there could be just a move into a little bit of commodities. We're seeing it, and what else would flow with that? So that's why maybe the Dow stocks are doing a little better too.
Not really, because we're seeing today, despite the continued spike in interest rates, which we're not really seeing a proper rally in financials. I mean, financials margins are expected to increase when interest rates rise, and therefore their stock are supposed to rally, but we're not really seeing that. I mean, there was an attempt for a breakout last week, and they could not follow through. I mean, there is a pullback. Let's see.
A lot of businesses are being disrupted. As great a businesses they are, the fact that they are growth businesses is in question, and here's why we're seeing that. So this is interesting, and I think this is not so much a fundamental view as a possibility. They've had such rich margins that cause so many problems, the financial companies, and they have so much disruption around new account customer acquisition because of the Robinhoods and the Coinbases of the world. I think the financials, if you pull them back up, I think we can understand why they can't get a healthy breakout. They print money, but that's already known that they print money, right? If we look at Wells Fargo, it's a foregone conclusion that they print money. But what's not a foregone conclusion is how many they just cut. What they're mentioning, cutting 26,000 people. That's more than Robinhood has 150 employees. So we can joke about at a $6 billion valuation. So we can joke about how Robinhood can't compete with Wells Fargo, and they can't. But at the same time, I don't know a team that needs Wells Fargo or a Gen Z consumer that needs Wells Fargo. So while they print money, they are not acquiring new customers. And as we've seen, in trends, and this is the most important part, trends need catalysts. The fundamentals don't really matter when a company's in a trend mode, because everybody's focused on the catalyst. With iPhone, it was the iPhone. With Google, it's search. With Facebook, it's social. It only becomes fundamental once the company stops growing, right? And so these companies now are not growth companies. So even though the conditions are right for Citigroup and Bank of America and Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, they just can't grow because they just can't acquire the next generation of users as easy. And they've been lucky for so long that now we're seeing that, hundreds of fintech startups. Fintech, which was a boring space, is now a hot space. So that's kind of my thesis around financials, is like the conditions are right for financials, but all the money's been made in fintech, from Robinhood being a $10 million a startup 5 years ago to being worth $6 billion. A lot of the fintech money is being speculated on in new companies. So financials just aren't interesting to me, but they've been great. The last 3-4 years have been a great run. I think the money, the momentum money is looking for growth, and we're not going to see it there. So go back to the transportation. That was kind of a fake breakout.
Yeah.
Ivan?
Now we're seeing a pullback, definitely. Yeah. Remember we talked about it a couple weeks ago.
That looked like a great breakout. Wow, so that was one we liked, this Echo Logistics, and it just pulled right up.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, the trackers could not hold it, and the same can be said about airlines. I mean, I think it's normal with crude oil rallying for transportation. Kind of makes sense for transportations to pull back. But other than that, last week we saw significant pullback.
I'm getting a bad connection. Can you hear me, Ivan?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's stalling on your side then.
Oh, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, we were talking about the transport. Ivan?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear you.
Okay, then we can call it a show, I guess.
Ivan?